Good morning, all. I am a mass murderer. Or, to be more specific, that is what the media will say when they get their hands on this next major article slash study that's coming out. Well, let me screen share with you something that came across my inbox this morning that basically has set me off on an entirely new level. Trying to get the screen share here. Ah, yes. From the Wyoming Institute of Technology, new study shows 92% of convicted murderers suffer from Asperger's syndrome. The Wyoming Institute of Technology's very own Dr. Franklin Forrester will be published in next month's American Journal of Medicine. This essay details recent findings from a 7-year study which focused on convicted murderers who have been diagnosed with Asperger's syndrome. Dr. Forrester and his team of psychiatric professionals, doctors, criminal psychologists, interviewed over 2,000 different prisoners in 7 different states. The group focused on the correlations between autism and criminal offenders. What they found shocked everyone, and this is the following is an excerpt from the AMJ Med article due out next month. My inspiration for this study was the tragedy that took place on April 16th, 2007, and is widely referred to as the Virginia Tech Massacre. He had been diagnosed with autism as a child, and after watching the video he released prior to the killings, I felt this was an accurate assessment. I began my research, basically multiple generous grants, blah-de-blah-de-blah. Here we go. After conducting interviews with after conducting extensive interviews with 2,342 prisoners and evaluating the psychiatric histories of 10,000 inmates, we were able to conclude that roughly 92% of murderers fell somewhere within the high-functioning autism spectrum. In the full essay, Dr. Forrester goes into to describe the scientific methodology behind a study, as well as releasing further data, and proposes several solutions to the epidemic. The issue will hit stores July 12th, 2014. Now, you see, there's a couple of problems that I have with this right off the bat. Number one, the fact is the fact is that the article itself, this blog post, is written by Dr. Forrester. So the fact is it is written by Dr. Forrester right off the bat, so he's promoting his own paper. The second thing that I find interesting in here is the fact that, again, they said they were looking into the correlations between autism spectrum disorders and criminal offense. I want to stress the point here for any mainstream media or anyone else who might pick up this story that that there is a fallacy called the correlation versus causation fallacy. Correlation does not necessarily equal causation. There could be third factors in here that are playing a role. For example, what if the possibility that if it was a lone murder and the suspect, and I'm not just talking mass shootings here, I'm talking about, well, if 92% of these convicted murderers, not all of them are serial killers or mass murderers, so some of them are bound to be instances where individual people have been found guilty of a murder, going to trial, and were convicted of a single murder. Well, here's the question that I have about this particular Asperger's effect. Is it possible that a large number of these murderers, or sorry, convicted murderers, quote unquote, are people who were actually innocent and were convicted under a court of law because of the fact that their social skills were, biasing juries and judges against them, and because of the fact that social niceties often in North American culture, as I can reference you to a number of books which were actually published by former coroners, expert witnesses who worked for both sides of the prosecution and defense across the board, etc., that our social niceties and requirements are actually trumping empiricism and actually getting people wrongfully convicted of murders and stuff like that. Is that a possible explanation for this? Is another possible explanation for this the fact that Asperger's itself or another high-functioning autism spectrum disorder will not cause you to go commit a murder, but that there might be a third underlying factor, which is causing people who do not have supports to properly understand how to respond to actual prejudice in our culture that is causing an issue with them in the first place. Are there other issues which might be causing this other than just the Asperger's here? Because this is a correlation, other issues need to be addressed. Now, the third issue that I have here is the fact that this article was published before the study came out. Not appropriate. Because of the fact that you may tell already that I'm angry right off the bat. Well, okay, maybe my issue is that I'm responding too much and thinking that there's too much, and thinking that there's going to be too much discrimination, by the mass media or by others because of this study. Well, part of the reason for that, and again, and I will actually say it to the exact opposite way, is that not having the study on hand to be able to properly analyze in its full context can end up leading to hysteria. So making an announcement that you have made a scientific finding without having the full scientific study available to make a to make a proper adjustment on, to make a proper analysis of, especially in these circumstances, can lead to irrationality, largely because of the fact that you will instinctively, based on your prior systems, jump for or against it because you don't have the data to analyze. So yeah, if I'm reacting semi-hysterically to this particular issue, and I'm worried that on the other side of it, people who are, worried that people who are, who might be potentially discriminatory against Asperger's might seize on this as an opportunity to go, see, this is why we need to get rid of autism. They're a threat to society. I mean, if my concern about that is, if they end up reacting hysterically because of this, again, my concern is that the study is not publicly available and readily available for everyone to read on this particular issue. So here's my concern. I am concerned again about the bad science issue, but more importantly, I'm concerned about the potential hysterical reaction issue. I know because of the fact that right now I'm having a knee-jerk reaction, saying that it's likely that this will be used as discrimination against Asperger's and autism. Now again, I want to get my hands on the original study and watch the media, and we'll actually see whether or not my concerns are founded. But the point is, though, is that without the study available, this is actually one of the fatal flaws of this. If I had access to the study and could analyze its full methodology and what it was actually saying, and more appropriately what its context was, at least then I'd have something to sink my teeth into, criticize or clarify on empirical grounds, and be less, if not less worried, at least have a method by which I could, address the issue. Anyway, now that I'm finished saying all that, I'd like to finish off with one final thought. To anyone who is watching this, you have seen about the sort of responses that came up from the Virginia Tech massacre, the most recent shooting, which brought up about the hashtag #YesAllWomen, when that son of the Hunger Games one of the Hunger Games directors went out on a mass killing spree himself. Now that's a different incident. The mass killing spree from the son of the the director of the Hunger Games, as far as I know, he wasn't diagnosed with Asperger's syndrome, and either way, his thing actually was a sexism problem. This was not a social manipulation issue or him misinterpreting things. He was just a genuine sexist from the actual letter and video he released prior to that. That is a separate issue and does not fall into this particular grouping analysis. He's probably in the 8% who are not. Anyway, that all being said, my point is, though, is that again, how do you think the media are going to react to this, given how touchy the subject of mass shootings has been in the past little while? Again, I want to stress that we need to do a proper investigation of this and not just try to victimize people with autism and Asperger's and autism spectrum disorders. Because if this 92% is misinterpreted, they're going to presume, oh, joy, then that means that all Asperger's and all autistic spectrum disorders must be potential mass murderers or something like that, and we have to pin them up. Or you see where I'm going with this? Yes, I know it's a bit of a... I'm not saying that it will go there, but I am saying that it could go there bad enough that I think that this is a major issue that needs to be addressed. Thanks again for your time and consideration, everyone. I will post the link in the description below so you can again read it in full context, and hopefully that article will be out soon enough and I can get my hands on it so I can do a follow-up as soon as that article hits the shelves, or at least and hopefully also hits online. I'm going to need a PDF copy in order to be able to do the proper analysis because I don't have access to the shelves in the U.S. Anyway, thanks again, guys, for listening to my ramble, and as always, keep thinking critically, because like I said, with this particular issue, we're going to need it.